aid, the military, humanitarian and infrastructure projects, to buying expensive gifts and building monuments dedicated to African leaders. Focusing on getting the poorest and most fragile states like Chad, Central African Republic and Niger to buy into his ideas and broaden his popularity. If he goes, the African Union will be seriously out of pocket. The organization released this statement on the crisis.
The AU condemns the disproportionate use of force against civilians and deeply deplores the many human lives lost so far.
If Gaddafi does go, will he be missed? Unlikely here in Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, where the Libyan leader recently called for the country to be broken up in order to quell religious violence, leading many Nigerians to dismiss him as mad.
There have been many inconsistencies in how Colonel Gaddafi has positioned the identity of Libya, either whether it's an Arab Islamic country or whether it's a black African country. And I think what he's tended to do is to play the game of a political chameleon, taking on a different shade depending on what is actually supportive of his own objectives, not necessarily in support of Africa or the Arab states.
While he may not be missed, Colonel Gaddafi is one of the last African leaders to remember a continent largely ruled by Europeans. The famous winds of change brought that chapter to a close. And whatever the outcome of this crisis, Gaddafi's time as an influential figure in Africa has almost certainly closed as well. Yvonne Dege, AlJazeera, Abuja, Nigeria.
Thousands of people, Libyans and those of other nationalities, fleeing the country. These are Chinese evacuees as they arrive in Greece. David Foster with more after this.
Good to have you with us. Warm welcome to this news hour with me, David Foster, and from Al Jazeera's headquarters here in Doha. Also live from Libya's eastern and western borders. These are the top stories. Gaddafi's shrinking circle of friends with the defection of one of his closest aides. Is Libya's uprising closing in on the leader? Wresting control of the country's west, reports suggest anti-government supporters are now in control there. Addressing the nation for the second time since the uprising began, Gaddafi likely to speak very soon. And cleared for extradition. A UK court rules that the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange can be sent to Sweden to face questioning on sex crime allegations. You're watching Al Jazeera's extended coverage of the uprising in Libya. David Foster with you, and these are the latest developments. People who live in the eastern city of Benghazi say they've captured and jailed mercenaries who'd been operating in Benghazi. And they say they've also set up a number of committees to run the city. Muammar Gaddafi's soon to make a public address, that's according to Libyan state television. He's expected to talk to people in AlJazeera, which has been the scene of clashes between pro-Gaddafi forces and protesters. Gaddafi's cousin and one of his closest aides says he's defected and is on his way to Syria. Ahmed Khadaf al-Dam says his decision was in reaction to the regime's crackdown on the protesters. In the coastal city of Misurata, pro-Gaddafi forces have reportedly clashed with anti-government protesters. This is to the west of Tripoli. Witnesses say the town, which is about 120 kilometers away from the capital, is under heavy security. And an influential army figure has also turned his back on Gaddafi. Major General Suleiman Mahmoud al-Abaidi says the leader's sold out his own people.
We thought he would be just, believe in freedom and unify the nation, but he is dividing the nation now. He also addresses other Arab leaders with arrogance. This man has an inferiority complex. I am saying this although I know I am at risk of being assassinated.
And we've been hearing from the Gaddafi regime its version of events through Libyan state media. Our reporter is Lawrence Lee.
As it tries to fight back, the Gaddafi regime is doing what it can to intimidate the opposition and stand its corner in the court of international opinion. These men, say Libyan state TV, tried to overthrow the government. To help the assertion, they also showed weapons allegedly seized from an Algerian national who, they said, had the aim of assassinating officials. The authorities say these are Egyptian passports which they seized, along with electronic instructions on how to commit sabotage. Inevitably, the alleged perpetrators are also interviewed, along with their confessions. Their future looks extremely bleak. And then there's the message from authority: give back the weapons and we won't harm you.
We are calling on anyone who took weapons must return them to the popular social committees in their areas. No legal action will be taken against those who return the weapons and regret taking them.
Libyan TV also aired an appearance from Gaddafi's son Saeed. He once again blamed the media and promised a sort of transparency entirely unavailable so far.
We have to understand that the conspiracy against us is not coming from Libyans. It is coming from our Arab brothers. They have used their media to spread lies and deception. Tomorrow, all media is coming and they will film everything. There is also an investigation committee, which includes foreigners. You will discover that we were deceived. You will find that this was the biggest lie to Libyans in our history.
It's hardly surprising the government wants protesters to give their weapons back. These images from Misrata in the west, said to be the scene of new fighting after falling to the opposition, suggest the uprising has as many heavy weapons as the army. So it's understandable that foreigners who don't want to take sides in any of this are hugely relieved to be getting out, and the massive exodus goes on.
There's massacres everywhere, Benghazi and Tripoli everywhere, and I'm very, very grateful to my government, the British government, to assist me to get me out of the disasters there.
Even the Israeli government, which never allows access to Gaza from the Mediterranean, has given permission for 300 Palestinians to return.
The request was made because there is a concern for their safety and their very lives. And for humanitarian reasons, I decided to respond positively to this request.
Some of the tribes who've turned away from Gaddafi have been gathering in Al-Baida, the meeting attended by leaders from across the east of the country. They called for international intervention, perhaps from the United Nations. No sign yet. So inside Libya, the story is different from place to place. Some towns celebrate what they say is liberation, some continue to experience fighting. And Tripoli, the key to all of this, remains in lockdown to protect Gaddafi. There's reportedly a major anti-Gaddafi demonstration planned for Tripoli on Friday. No wonder foreigners want to get out. Lawrence Lee, Al-Jazeera.
Our correspondents are right the way across the region. Here's Jamal El-Shael in Saloum on the Egyptian side of the border with Libya. Now on the west of the country, Nazni Mashirit, Ras Ad-Jia on the Tunisian-Libyan border. And it's first to Nazni that we go. On the western side, actually in Tunisia itself, but very close. We can see the crossing right behind you, Nazanin, and there's been a steady stream of refugees. I also wonder about people trying to get in to help the Libyans themselves. What is the picture where you are?